I booked 213 sales calls in 30 days, all through cold email. And if you stay to the end of this video, you'll know exactly step by step how to do this for your company as well. And make sure you don't skip around, because at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you the one method we're using to make sure every single lead that comes in, we book right away. And no other outbound agency is willing to tell you this, but I am. So with that being said, let's just jump into it. All right, so before we get into these steps on how to actually do this for your own company, I just want to take you through the results just to kind of prove to you guys that, we know what we're talking about, and, these 213 booked calls actually happen, right? Now, in order for us to get these leads, obviously are using cold email. This is our own proprietary platform that only us and our clients use to actually send out cold emails, right? If you're familiar to Smart Lead or Instantly, it's very similar, just better deliverability. And again, we just use it internally. So as you can see here, through the month of October, right, October 1st to the 31st, we sent out 275,000 emails. We contacted 100,000 unique people. Out of this, out of sending out this many emails, we had 2,190 replies. These are people just, asking for, pricing, questions, concerns, people that aren't interested, out of office replies, kind of the whole bucket of replies that just came in. That fits into here. And then as you can see here, interested replies. These are people with genuine interest, people for asking for, price, questions, concerns, everything like that. That fits into that interested bucket, okay? Pretty much just them raising their hand. Now, out of this 200 or out of these 230 replies or interested replies, we booked in this 213, we booked 213 calls, right? During, again, the month of October. Now, you might be asking yourself, there's 230 people that raised their hand. Why is there 213 booked calls? That's a lot. That's a big it's a big percentage of people that just raise their hand to book in the call. It's through a mechanism that I'm going to share, that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that I'm going to share at the end of this video. This mechanism pretty much guarantees the fact that you will book in, over 80 to 85%, even to 90% of your interested replies, because the mechanism works very well, and it's very hard not to book in someone, as you can tell by these results. But I'll get into that, towards the end of the video. So again, just some more proof, kind of this is the month of October, right? All the booked calls, booked calls, booked calls. And then obviously tons of payments coming through. We signed a lot of deals. Obviously, if you book in 213 qualified sales calls, you're going to close a lot of deals. And that's just kind of our Stripe transactions from that month, okay? That's that. So let's just jump into the first part of the process, which is going to be infrastructure. So with cold email, you need to do a few different things, right? But the first thing is going to be, setting up your infrastructure where you're going to be sending off the emails from, okay? Now, the first part is going to be domains and email accounts. So what we do is we get our clients set up on 50 domains, and we attach that to 100 email accounts. Now, this is just a display of how it works, just very simply. But essentially, if your main domain is advertising.com, just as an example, what you're going to do is you're going to purchase 50. This is just 5 for the example, but you'll purchase 50 domains that look very similar to your main domain. So theadvertising.com, heyadvertising.com, whenadvertising.com, etc. When you purchase those 50 domains, what you're going to do is you're going to attach 2 email accounts to that one domain, okay? Now, as the example, it'll be John at theadvertising.com, John.s at theadvertising.com, John at heyadvertising.com, John at s exact, etc. That's how it works, right? So for my business, for example, my company's called Borks.io, right? For example, so it'll be like theborks.com, right? And then we'll have a lot of different emails that are attached to that, and that's where we're sending off the emails from, right? That's how we have the ability to send out so many emails, because we purchase so many email accounts, and essentially, we send out that at bulk, right? Now, when you do this, right, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to set up forwarding. Now, what does this mean? This means that every person that goes right here and sees your email, right, coming from this email address, if they go ahead and highlight this email or this domain, it needs to forward to your main domain. So if someone types in, hey, advertising, .com, it should, and when you press enter, it should forward to your main page, advertising.com. Okay? That's what you need to do. And then what you also need to do is you need to set up your DNS records. This means that every single domain you have purchased, right, the 50 domains that will be attached to the 100 email accounts, you need to set up DKIM records, SPF records, DMARC records. Now, these two things, they sound very complicated, and in all honesty, they kind of are. And that's why with the new technology with cold email, you do not have to do this yourself. What you can do is you can use platforms like Porkbun and cheap inboxes to get this done for you. So what does that mean? So in order to purchase inboxes, what you'll do is you'll come to cheap inboxes or any other email account infrastructure provider, and you simply just click 100 inboxes, order now, $3.25 per inbox, and they just set this up for you, right? All you have to do is you have to purchase the domains from Porkbun, which is very simply a domain registrar similar to GoDaddy or anything like that. You purchase the domains here, the 50 domains, you send them to cheap boxes. They do everything for you, right? They get the email accounts, they purchase the accounts, they set up the forwarding, they set up the DNS records. You don't have to do anything. You just put in an order and that's it. I just want to mention this because it's very simple to do, and a lot of people do this manually, but now with the age of cold email, you do not have to do that, okay? So that's that. And then also, this is kind of what I showed here, the email sending platform. I'll go into this more later in the video of how do we actually set up the cold email campaigns, but essentially this is how it works. We have a setting platform similar to Smartlead Instantly. You just send emails off it, automated emails. It sends it out in batching, and it pretty much just sends it out to the list you put in, and then you just get emails back and you respond back essentially. Okay, so that's that. That is the infrastructure setup. Okay, now the next step 2, getting the leads. Right, so now we have the setup where you obviously purchase domains, email accounts, all that kind of stuff. Now you need to actually get the leads you'll be using these email accounts to send the emails to. Okay. Now, how do we do this? We use a platform called Apollo.io, and I'll just show you this right here, how it looks, how we use it, essentially, all that kind of stuff like that, right? Now, Apollo.io, it's a database. Now, what is a database? A database is pretty much a software that has a lot of different people's information at a company level. Okay, so no personal information. It's completely GDPR compliant, but essentially it has a lot of information on the company, the companies that you'll be targeting. Okay, so let's say you want to target restaurants. It has restaurant data, job title, or people that work at these restaurants, all that kind of stuff. Okay, now there's 2 ways of going about this with getting data from Apollo. There's one way where you take websites, right? So websites you have from past clients, websites you have from just general sources like Google Maps or Store Leads or BuildWith or Crunchbase, and you put it into Apollo, the exact links, and you're going to get the exact job titles that work at the company. So instead of me yapping, I'll just show you how it works. Okay. So let's just say I want to get HVAC companies near me. Okay, I'm in New Jersey, and these are the companies that are going to be displayed. So if I want to scrape this information, I'm going to go here. I'm going to use something like Instant Data Scraper to scrape all the information here. Let me locate the next table. There we go. So I have that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll down here, and then I'm going to go locate next button right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on start crawling. All right, so what I did is I took all the information that I got from Google, and I just scraped it with Instant Data Scraper, and I put into a Google Sheet here, as you can see. Now, what I'll go ahead and do here is I'm going to take all of these links that I have here. These are just general, companies that, just general HVAC companies, okay? So take all this information. Let's get like, 2,000, just so we can have a good batch. And what I'll do is I'll come over to Apollo. Now with Apollo, what you'll do is you're going to go ahead and click on company, click on include and exclude. Okay. You're going to click on include. So these are going to be the companies that they have here. So I put in 2,000. Apollo has access to 1.5 thousand. Account location, you can just do this. I did primarily New Jersey, so it doesn't really matter where you want to do it. You can put in location as well. I'll just put in United States, for example. And then employee count, you can filter by, let's just say I want to do 1 to 100 employees. And then keywords, I typically don't do this, and I don't do this because we just took all the HVAC companies and let Google do the filtering, and then we went ahead and put it all into Apollo, essentially. Okay. So that's that. And then what you'll do is you'll head over to the People's tab. Okay. When you head over to the People's tab, there you go. You have 22,000 people that work here, and you can filter by whatever job title you want, right? CEO, CMO, founder, whatever, and you can get access to these people. Okay. And now you can go ahead and you can get all this information, which I'll show you in the next step. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is strictly going to and kind of building out the lead list on Apollo. Okay, so how do you do that? What you'll do is you'll head over to back to the companies tab and we'll start from scratch. Instead of taking websites and letting Google or any other platform do the filtering for you, you build it strictly on Apollo using keywords. Okay, maybe even specifically in the cold email niche, right? Just like me, and I might even come up here, right, as one of the companies. Okay, which I'm actually curious if I do. Let's see. Works. There you go. That's my company. Okay. So I come up here. So as you can tell, the targeting is very good. So advertising, whatever, cold email agencies, between 1 and 50 headcount. Obviously, not too much data. There's not too many cold email agencies. And that's it. I'm going to go to people and I could do my filtering, right? Job title, CEO, CMO. And there you go. Now everyone's here and I'm probably going to be here as well. Again, there you go. Tyler Nanetti, CMO at Borks. That's me. So as you can tell, this works very well. I filtered by everything, and that's two ways of getting data. But essentially, it's very, very simple. If you do want more information on how to get data and how to use Apollo, I have a video that it'll pop up somewhere here where I actually show you how to use the data. Okay. So that's that. Now, when you actually have the data here, right, you have the 880 contacts or however many contacts you have. What happens is you want to scrape the data, right? You want to have the phone number, you want to have the email, you want to have the company name, you want to have all the information you need to scrape the data. Okay. Now, using scraping the data from Apollo specifically gets very expensive. The prices are outrageous. If you scrape it at bulk, it becomes very, very expensive, and there's just no reason to do that when you have solutions like this. There's different softwares. There's so many different softwares like Expert Apollo, right? Or like Ample Leads, Urban Starter, Appify, whatever. And what you do, for example, use Urban Starter. There's so many where you'll just go and you can scrape high quality B2B leads for $5 a lead versus Apollo's $10, $20 per lead per 1,000 leads. Okay. You go here, put this here, put all your information. I'm going very fast with this because every single platform is the exact same. It's the same format, just different UI. So like Boomerang, for instance, it's the same thing where you'll just go here and you'll just scrape the data from there directly and see all the data's here. You could scrape it, whatever. Okay. Very, very, very simple stuff. Now, when you actually go ahead and you pull the data, what happens here is it'll come in a list that looks just like this, right? It'll have, you'll scrape a list like this, from directly from Apollo, and you'll have first name, last name, job title, company name, personal email, work email, all the data you need, right? Website, LinkedIn, all that kind of nice stuff. Okay. That's what happens when you actually pull the data. Now, when you actually get this data, a lot of the emails are unverified. So what does unverified mean? Unverified means that the email just doesn't exist anymore. And what happens is Google and Outlook look at your bounce rate. It's a percentage of how many emails you send compared to the emails that bounce. Okay. So when you send out emails and they bounce, meaning they did not land in the reciprocated or the other inbox, right, that you're actually sending to in your lead list, Google and Outlook take that as you're spamming, because typically when you send emails, you're sending it to a person that you've had a conversation with, know who the person is, and if you're consistently sending emails that do not land, aka you're not verifying your list, they will say, okay, this person's spamming, and they will eventually report your account, which leads to not good deliverability, which leads to no sales, and you don't want that. Okay. So how do you avoid that? You avoid that by using a platform called a Million Verifier. Million Verifier, it's very simple. You put in your list. This list was like 13,000 leads. 84% was valid. You simply click download reports and you just download the verified list. Very, very simple stuff. Don't send to risky. Don't send to bad. These are emails that Million Verifier is targeting as not good. Okay, so do not send it. Now, last step with the list before we get into personalization is going to be normalizing the company names. This is how it looked initially. What you'll do, you could use any other platform to normalize the names. But essentially, we have in our coaching program a bunch of tools. It's called Lead Academy. Lead Academy is our cold email coaching program. You could join it if you'd like. It's a low ticket coaching program, and we have a lot of tools like this where you can use. One of the most popular ones is company name enricher. What does this mean? This means taking company names like this, for example, right? The Shark Group, or Linkability US, or all these names that you wouldn't have in your emails, right? You wouldn't say, hey, I noticed you worked at neilschaefer.com, right? You would say Neil Schaefer. All right. I noticed you worked at Beam Connect light emoji. That makes no sense. Okay. What you'll do is you'll put this into the formatter in the Lead Academy, or whatever formatter you want to use, and it spits out the correct company names. So now it's, hey, I noticed you worked at AdRail instead of like AdRail LLC or AdRail Inc., whatever, right? So it just normalizes it, makes it better for when you use it in the email copywriting. Okay. That's that. Now, the last part of the getting the data is going to be personalizing the data. I have an example here of what we've done for this specific campaign in October, where essentially what we did was we took the data from here, and then we took the data from here, and then we normalized, or we enriched. Okay, so what does that mean? So we put the data in here, and then we got information from the website by using, again, this platform called Clay. So clay.com, as I mentioned, it's an AI data enricher, which basically you put in data, you put in a website, you ask it, you prompt it, you say, get all the information from this website. I want to take the information, use it for my emails, and it does it for you, essentially. It's very, very cool, very simple, and we use this for all of our clients, okay? So as you can see here, what we did was we got a list of these, this was for lending. So we targeted lending companies, for instance. And we got the first name, last name, email, everything straight from Apollo. But then we asked Clay, we said, okay, listen, I'm going to give you a prompt, right? Make sure you look at what this company does and come back with what they do as a service, okay? So this company, for example, we determined with our AI that they do some sort of private equity, okay? This company does venture capital, right? And I'll show you later when I actually make the email copy or the email scripts, it's going to look really cool because you can say like, hey, John, I noticed, Powerhouse Ventures deals with venture capital. Very cool. And it makes it personalized to them specifically. And again, it doesn't make it look like a mass email that you send out to tons of people. It just makes it look very personal to them. And then also what we did using AI, we also determined their ideal client profile, who they work with, again, making it even more personal to them. So you can say in context, hey, John, I noticed you worked at Powerhouse Ventures, and I noticed you guys, target tech startups who need venture capital. There you go. That makes it very personal. Instead of saying like, hey, John, do you want leads for your business, right? So it kind of differentiates your business, and makes reply rates go very, very high because people want to respond to you because they're saying, wow, how did you know that information about me? And it kind of interests them a lot more. Okay. So that's how to use Clay. It's very simple to use Clay. There's a lot of instructions online on how to use Clay, but essentially you put in a list, you add in all the requirements you need for personalization. It does it for you within seconds. And then you can just take this list and then put into your campaigns. Okay. Very cool stuff. And then let's do this one. So next step is going to be writing your email scripts now that you have the data and everything like that. One thing I do want to mention, obviously there's a lot more that goes into these steps with cold email. Us as an agency at Borks, we do this for all of our clients. We don't charge any agency retainer fees. We don't charge a pay-per lead model. What we do is we basically build out an entire system and we hand it to you, and basically we work with you for 90 days to make sure you know how to run the system on your own, and then you can run it and actually own a cold email system that will generate you leads for years to come, rather than working with an agency on a retainer basis that you just kind of use the system and you just don't work with them anymore and you just don't have ownership of it, right? It's kind of like buying a property versus leasing a property. That's kind of how we explain it. But that's something I do want to mention because again, cold email can get very technical, and if you'd like, you can let our company actually do this for you. But that's kind of for another topic. If you are interested in that, you can click on the link, the first link down below, and we can possibly work together, speak with my team. We'll go from there. Okay, so that's that. Next part is going to be writing email scripts. When writing email scripts, we go for these 5 different things. Again, with my team, I always explain to them that every single form of copy has to have these 5 pillars, 5 requirements. Okay, so what are these requirements? Number 1 is going to be relevance, why I'm getting in touch with you and how it connects to what you're doing. Okay. Personalization, a note that shows this message is specifically for them, not something generic. Offer, a clear explanation of what I can help with, what I can help them accomplish or improve. Social proof, a quick example of reference that shows I've delivered results for them before, or for other companies like them before. And then call to action, or CTA, a simple low pressure next step to make them respond when it suits them. Okay, so let's go into this, and I'll make some examples email copy, or example email copy. This is a template that we use internally for our clients. Essentially, this just has the explainer here, so my team understands what they need to do to perfect a cool email script, and then that's it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually write the copy. This is just the templates. So the copy will be very similar to what we did to actually like book in the 213 calls in a month. It's going to be the same copy that we used. And essentially what it is we keep the same framework. So why I'm getting in touch. Hey, first name. I'm reaching out because I, found company on LinkedIn and noticed, right? So what we did here with our campaigns is we took, we pretty much just used Clay to find some sort of interesting topic on the company's LinkedIn, new post, new hire, that kind of stuff. And we just mentioned it here. So it's like, I'm reaching out because I found company on LinkedIn and noticed you guys are hired a new person, or notice you guys just went to a new event. Whatever Clay will pull, that's what we will do. So that's the reason. Personalization, if you'd like, for example, or we could say, my company actually helps, so niche, so venture capital, for example, venture capital companies, get in touch with ICP, with, pizza spots, whatever, get in touch with pizza spots through automated cold email. Okay. Offer. Okay. Next step, offer, clear explanation. We can hand over 1,000 free leads to prove our data will work for company. Okay. And then you could say, can I send it over? Now, I know we have the social proof here. You can add this anywhere. It's not like a specific and like Stern framework. What I typically do is I'll add in like a PS line. I'll just be like, PS, we just booked, 45 sales calls for XYZ in 30 days, just to add some sort of layer of personalization. And that's it. That is the email that did very well for us, or something along the lines of this. Okay. And what you'll do is you'll add this one and you'll just send it out to these people, right? What you could also do is I have email 1B and email 1C. These are pretty much just different variations, so you can split test what works. So instead of saying I'm reaching out, you can literally just take this out and you can add this as a email 1B. So it'll A/B test and send it to different people, and you can see later which one works well, and you can use that information for future campaigns. Also, email 2. This is just a follow-up email, so it's just like, hey, I'm reaching back out, to see if this is still something worth checking out. Let me know. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. We don't put too much attention into follow-up emails, because 90% of the people that respond come in through email 1A, or the first email that gets sent out. So that's that. Again, don't put too much attention to this. We just, you can just add in whatever you'd like. Again, with campaigns, as you get better with them, as you send out more emails, you start to understand the importance of the first email, and how, when you send out the second email, you will still get some replies, but again, not as much as your first one. Okay. So that's that. Email copy's done. Make sure you have this framework. Make sure you're attaching in the personalization that we had in the past step. and you will be good to go and you will book in a lot of calls. Okay. So that's that as far as email copy. Now, launching the cold email campaign. Okay. So now what do we have here? We have the data here that we pulled, right? So we pulled it from from Apollo. We scraped it, we verified it, we enriched it with Clay. Now we have the finalized data, and then we have the cold email copy here. This is just an example. We have the copy here. Now, what you'll do is you'll go to your sending platform, wherever you are sending out these emails. So if you are sending, or if you are using something like Smartlead, it's the same concept here. If you're using instantly.ai, it's the same thing. It's the same concept there. Let's spell that right. Instantly.ai. You can use something like this. They're all pretty much the exact same as far as like public sending tools, public sequencers. As far as deliverability goes, not the best deliverability. Obviously, that's why we built our platform. Which essentially our platform, we use it only for us internally and our clients. And essentially, it is very good deliverability because we have our own privately hosted IPs that we only share with us and our clients. So not going to nerd out about that too much, but that's why it works very well. Okay. So setting up a campaign. What you'll do is you'll go to the campaign section in any platform. I'm making this broad for any platform. You're going to go ahead and click create campaign, and you'll name your campaign. I typically just do like the naming convention of like your client name and then whatever segment you want. So, let's just say like lending companies, for instance. And that's it. So it's just your name, lending companies, whatever your target audience is. Because that's typically, you're putting in an audience bucket into here. So you'll just put it as the audience bucket you want. And then I put that as outbound campaign, create campaign. Okay. Now import CSV. This is going to be the CSV file that we're going to be adding in right here. This is just like an example one that we have that we pulled, venture capital, the same one I said before. File, download right here. And I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop it to right here. Okay. Again, same concept between pretty much any platform you'll be using. Okay. And what you'll do here is you'll map out all of the headers, right? So first name, last name, last name. So this is pretty much the headers that, your platform comes with. And then, you're going to map it out, right? So email, title, I don't have title here. Company is going to be company name. What I'll do is I'll add in, right, for example, like the niche of the business, right? So like venture capital, stuff like that. And it'll be primary financial product. So in the email, when I say like, I noticed you target niche, it'll come up with the primary financial product they're doing. Same thing with ICP, ideal client profile. Perfect. And then I'll click on finish mapping. And then you can just name this. I don't know if this is in any other platform, but I'll just name it lending and then press import my data. And what it's going to do, it's going to take its time. It's going to actually import all of the information that you want, right? So same thing here where you have all of the, first name, last name, email, whatever. It's going to map it out to this specific cell. So when you contact, Sri, for example, all this information gets populated so you can actually, use it in the actual email. Okay. So now that all the emails are populated, I believe we imported, 4,200. What you'll do is you'll set up your sequence. Okay, so what does this mean? This means setting up your subject line and your emails. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the email that we have here, right here. And then you're going to put it in here. Okay, first name, hey, first name. Okay. And then your subject line. For subject lines, don't put too much attention to it. Again, this is what makes more of an impact is the context of your email rather than the subject line, which a lot of people get wrong. But I'll do something along the lines of like something that catch someone's attention. So it's like this Monday at 2 p.m. work. Something very like, wow, this will catch my attention. I'll add in their first name. Something like that, not too crazy. And then there you go, that's your email, okay? That's that. And then what you'll do is you can add in a step. So after you send out this email, if the person that receives the email does not respond, what happens? You send over a email again 3 days after, which is the same one here that we put here, right? And so on. You would pretty much just add this for the next one. So it's, 2 days later, it gets this one. That's a typical cadence that we do. And you'll add in something else. I'll add in something like, first name, like catch their attention, like John, right? Just catch your attention. Okay. So that's how to set up a sequence. Okay. Now, schedule whatever schedule you want to do. I typically just do 9 a.m. to 5, so 9 to 17 o'clock. Settings, always send plain text, never track open rates. That's will kill your deliverability because it adds in a pixel to your to your emails. You don't want any pixels, no HTML, nothing like that. And then you want to add in your sender email accounts. This is just the email accounts you're going to be using. So I'll use all of these, for example. Add to campaign, ads all here. And then now that you actually add in the email accounts, you can actually preview your body. So for example, you'll say, this is the subject line, does Monday at 2 p.m. work, right? So Sarah, whatever, catches their attention. Hi, Xavier. I'm reaching out because I found company on LinkedIn and noticed, we didn't add this in yet, but add in personalization, whatever. Like noticed you, just hired someone for some role, whatever. My company actually helps private equity, since they do private equity, personal to them, get in touch with real estate developers, exactly who their ideal client profile is. And you can verify that by checking here that they do some sort of private equity with real estate developers, real estate investors, all that kind of stuff, right? Buy their projects, whatever, gather that information from there somewhere. But this is what they do. Okay. And you can check the different variations here. Okay. So that's that. And then again, what you'll do is you'll click on launch campaign. Once you launch campaign, it'll just send out the emails. It's very good. Any email platform that you use, essentially, it'll be the same concept where it'll just send out the emails 9 to 5 whenever your sending schedule is. And then it'll just send out the X amount per campaign that you are sending out. It's very simple. Okay. And then most of them will have a dashboard like this. Leads coming in here, campaigns, and a master inbox. When the people actually respond, what happens is you can just reply to them here, just like a normal email inbox, like a normal Gmail or Outlook inbox. That's pretty much that. Okay, so that's that. Now, the next thing, which is the final step, which is the most important step of this entire thing, if you do not do this next step, then everything else doesn't really work at all, which is the AI outbound agent. This is the entire thing that we are selling as our main thing in our business. As I mentioned before, we provide other companies, we provide other B2B companies with this AI outbound agent. What we do is we set up everything we just did from A to Z, right? Infrastructure. We set up obviously the data, verify data, enrich the data, email scripts, setting up the campaigns consistently, reworking the campaigns. But this is the main meat and potatoes, right? This is the AI outbound agent. Every single time a positive reply comes in, this is a person, again, raising their hand about, asking for pricing questions, concerns. They get an automatic AI email response right here. Automatic email response. This person says, are you available today? It responds, hey, Ethan, love this. I'm booked solid today. So obviously it checks the calendar, but I have these times. I'll walk you through how to build out your 1,000 complimentary leads list. And essentially every single time it comes in, an AI responds right away. Now, what happens as well? This person, we enrich their phone number and we send over a AI warm call. This is an AI outbound agent, which sounds pretty much identical to a real human being, which basically just says, hey, John, I noticed you left an email or you replied back to my email. Do you have time this week for a quick consultation where we can go over whatever your product is? Okay. Then simultaneously to that, we also send over a LinkedIn request where it just connects with them on LinkedIn and also sends them a message saying, hey, I noticed you left a reply to my email. And this all happens 30 seconds after they leave a positive reply. So it becomes almost impossible not to book in the person. Once we decide whether the person's booked in, if they're not booked in, then we do this entire thing every single 3 days until they book in with us or our clients. And also, if they do book in, we stop the sequence and, again, our client or us, we just take over that call and we discuss with them, speak to them, and try to sell them on the product, okay? So that's that. That's pretty much the entire system here. As I mentioned before, this is what we provide as a system with our business or, at Borks. Essentially, we install this entire system plus everything else that we talked about in this video into your business. No agency retainer fees. You just pay once, and essentially, we build this out put this into your business, and it just generates forever, generates leads forever. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe. If you want more content like this, or if you want to just understand more about how cold email works, I have a video pop up here, which pretty much just go over my last video, which goes over kind of all the nuances with cold email, the technology, data scraping, email copywriting, all that kind of stuff. So that's that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.